I am someone who is constantly adjusting and redesigning my setup. Personally, I gain so much inspiration when my workspace feels fresh and new. I've changed my workspace many times over the years, moving furniture, moving rooms, and even houses. However, this year's setup might be my favorite I've ever had. Hello there, my name is Weston Woodfin. I'm a designer and photographer from Texas, and each year I put together a video showcasing the space I spend about 80% of my day in. I work full-time from my home office, so this space is one that needs to be dialed in. It's important for me to have a space that feels comfortable, creative, and cool. So, like previous years, I'll showcase everything inside my office. I'll give my honest thoughts about the gear I use and do my best to link everything for you to find in the description. If you have any questions at all, don't hesitate to leave a comment down below. I do my best to respond to everyone. With the intro out of the way, let's start with one side of the room and work our way all the way around. When you first walk into my office, on your left, you'll be face to face with this incredible print from the very talented Tin Hundred. This is an uncut sheet of the playing card deck that he designed himself here on YouTube. I'll leave a link down below where you can check out his series. I thought the uncut sheet made a really cool print, so I framed it and here we are. Next to it, you'll find an Ikea-like pegboard that I printed myself. My brother actually gifted me a 3D printer for Christmas, and I've been making things all around my office like a total madman. I'll talk more about the printer in a moment, but the pegboard holds my Cypher Xbox controller that I use to game on my PC, and the Logitech G Pro wireless headset for the occasional Discord and gaming session with my buddies. Above the board is another object I designed and printed for my office. This is my wall-mounted baby pin. I hated having to set up a light stand every time I wanted to use my video light, so I designed and printed one that I could mount to the wall and hold my light without taking up too much space. I'll leave a link below where you can go and download the print file for yourself if you want to make one for your office and lighting setup. Mounted on the baby pen is a video light from Small Rig. This is the RC120D with the RA-D55 dome light box attached. It's been a really great light source for my setup when on Zoom calls for work and recording these talking head videos for YouTube. I'm actually using it right now. So when it comes to my actual desk setup, I've been rocking this one for about a year straight now. The top is a kitchen butcher block that I purchased from Home Depot. It came completely plain, so I stained it and added a protective coating. I usually prefer a darker finish, but the room stays pretty dark already, and the lighter color wood actually helps it feel a bit brighter in here. I then purchased the Fazebo standing desk leg unit from Amazon. It was pretty cheap in comparison to a lot of the other brands out there, so I was a little skeptical at first, but together they work great and do exactly what I need them to. I have a ton of stuff on my desk, and these legs have no problem moving up and down into whatever position I need. This year, I made it a goal to stand a lot more often while working. As someone constantly at the computer, I've slowly started to look more and more like a question mark. So it was important for me and my posture to have a comfortable place to rest. Luckily, the video sponsor FLEXISPOT literally has my back. FLEXISPOT reached out to me wanting to send me their standing desk. Since I already had one and my chair at the time was slowly falling apart, I asked them if they wouldn't mind sending me one of their ergonomic chairs instead, and 2 days later this guy arrived. This is the OC4 SD in their dark gray color. It's a stylish and comfortable office chair that supports your back while being productive or taking a break. The chair comes in various colors and is available in both mesh and foam style seating. The chair allows for quite a bit of adjustment, so you can really dial in the settings that fit you. At first, I wasn't accustomed to the lumbar support of the chair. It took a few days to get used to, but I think that's because I was used to a chair with no lumbar support at all. I do wish the chair had a little bit more support when leaning forward in that super focus mode, but this might just be a bad posture habit on my end. When you're sitting back in the chair normally, it does feel really comfortable and for sure helps with my posture. The armrests on the chair are super adjustable, which is really nice. They feel well made and I actually really like the material on them. However, I wish they would lock into place a little better. I'm somebody that moves around using the armrest or grabs onto them when standing up or sitting down. So with a little force, they'll sort of shift and move. Underneath your seat is a footrest that folds out, allowing you to really sit back and relax. At first, I was a little hesitant and thought this was a bit gimmicky, but it might actually be my favorite part of the entire chair. Being able to prop my feet up and lean back in an almost fully reclined position isn't something I thought I needed in an office chair until now. 10 out of 10, would recommend. My last critique is that I feel like the very front of the chair needs some cushion or additional mesh support. The hard plastic on the front is a little sharp and can sort of dig into your legs depending on how you're sitting. It's not painful or anything, just something I think would improve the overall comfort level. At the end of the day, the chair is really great. It's leaps and bounds better than what I was sitting in before, and it's definitely improved how I feel throughout my workday. I'm not waking up with so many aches and pains, and I don't find myself growing as irritable or uncomfortable during long editing sessions. I'd say if you can grab the chair on sale or use my discount code to get a few dollars off the chair, I think it's a really good investment to make for you and your setup. Thank you, FLEXISPOT, for having my back. So what about the computer system running my desk? Well, I actually have two. I work full-time from home as an editor and motion graphic artist, but occasionally will need to be mobile for in-person meetings. So for my full-time job, I work from this M3 MacBook Pro. The company I work for was gracious enough to purchase it for me, so it is one of the higher end models, and it does a great job handling all my graphic needs. When I'm home working from the Mac, it lives full-time in the Escano dock. I believe I'm saying that correctly. It's a really premium dock that does a great job holding and keeping my Mac out of the way. I do wish it provided more port options when docked, but it gets the job done connecting to both my monitors in a sleek and stylish way, so it works for me at the moment. My other setup is my personal PC. This is the computer I use for everything else like gaming, media consumption, and editing these videos. It's a really solid PC, even though everything inside is a few years old. It's essentially just a 2080 with 64 gigabytes of RAM and a really cool Corsair case that I don't know the name of. But it's worked fine for what I need and has never struggled to handle playing games even on my ultra-wide monitor. Speaking of my monitor, let's talk about them. My main monitor is a fairly recent purchase. This is the LG 34GP83AB Ultra Gear QHD Ultra Wide Gaming Monitor. Wow, what a mouthful of nonsense. I've always wanted an ultra wide monitor, but they always seemed a little bit more expensive than what I was willing to pay. But as someone that edits video for a living, an ultra wide monitor is a bit of a game changer. The ability to see so much of your timeline and workspace when inside of a project is pretty incredible. Right above this monitor is my second monitor. Though not nearly as nice as my main monitor, this monitor works perfectly as additional space for windows or throwing on a video while I use the entirety of the ultra-wide space. I decided to try a stacked monitor setup this year, and I gotta admit, I really enjoy it. It took some time to get used to at first, and you sort of have to find the perfect position so that you aren't straining your neck looking up and down. But the space it saves on your desk not having the monitors side by side is really nice. The extra space on the side allows room for a different type of monitor. These are the Yamaha H5 speakers. I bought these years ago when I was making a lot of music in Logic Pro, and they've held up really well. They sound great, and I've never really had a reason or need to replace them. Powering them is the Scarlett Solo. This amplifier does exactly what I need. I sort of just use it as a master control knob for turning up and down my audio. It does, however, randomly disconnect from time to time, but I think this might actually be an issue with the adapter I'm using to try and add more port availability to my MacBook. I use various SSDs, SDs, and hard drive cards for work and editing, so I'm constantly needing more ports for my various drives. I need to look into a better solution for this. If anyone has a way they add more ports to their MacBook that works well for you, let me know. I'm open to trying some other options. This is the NuFi Air 75 V2 keyboard in the lunar gray colorway. Though I'm not a big keyboard collector, I do love a nice looking keyboard. This keyboard was really popular a few years back, but I only purchased it a few months ago during a sale, and I'm really glad I did. I love the look, and honestly, it doesn't sound too bad with the brown 2.0 switches. I did have to get used to some of the key travel as I was coming from the Apple keyboard, but now that I've had it for a while, I do really like it. The switches on the back also allow me to switch between both of my setups so that I'm not having to use two different keyboards. I use the Bluetooth on my Mac and then switch to a wired mode for Windows when I'm ready to game. The wire powering the keyboard is the ranked Dolce coil cable I found on Amazon. I thought the color and style was really nice and helped complete the aesthetic of the keyboard. I am, of course, using the great MX Master 3 mouse for my work setup, but I have a second Logitech wired mouse for my PC that I switch between depending on the computer I'm using. I have a few more smaller items that live on my desk, like the 12 South 3-in-1 wireless charging dock for my iPhone, Apple Watch, and AirPods. It's a bit pricey, but I don't mind the premium cost considering it's really well built and charges all my devices pretty quickly. Also on my desk is a little organizer I designed and printed myself. I originally made it to hold some smaller items like my knife, Apple Pencil, and hard drives, but it'll also occasionally act as a dock for my Steam Deck when I'm not using it. Even though I use the standing desk legs to support my desk, I wanted a place to store my various items and accessories so my desk remained relatively clutter-free. And of course, I'm using the classic Alex drawer units from Ikea. Inside the drawers, I store all sorts of things, but I'm currently in the process of designing my own Gridfinity system. If you don't know about Gridfinity, it's essentially a grid system that you can 3D print in order to add more storage and organization to almost anything. Speaking of 3D printing, let's talk about my printer. This is the Creality Ender V3 KE. A bit of a mouthful, but honestly, a really great entry-level 3D printer for the price. I have designed and printed so many fun things from fidget toys to actual functional objects that I use all around my office. If you don't have a 3D printer already, I highly recommend getting one. I make digital stuff all the time, but there's something so magical and cool about being able to create and print physical objects. For those unfamiliar with 3D printing, instead of using ink like a normal printer, they use a special type of filament that come in spools. This filament is then heated at high temperatures by the printer and is essentially melted into place using special code that your printer can read and print out into a 3D space. I'm thinking about making a few videos walking through my design process and how I actually print things for use around my office. If that sounds interesting to you, let me know down below and subscribe so you don't miss it. Okay, now let's talk about one of my favorite spots in my office. This is the art and camera section of the office. This is my little corner of the world that represents me most as a person. From the shelves holding film and toy cameras to the surf green electric guitar, this is a collection of some of my favorite things I own. I feel like it's important for the space you work in to represent who you are as a person. So when you're designing your office, the best additions are the things that inspire and showcase your personality. The floating shelves are from Amazon and are by far the best floating wooden shelves I've ever purchased. I'll link them down below. If you're looking for real wood shelves, buy these, trust me. The shelves hold an assortment of film and toy cameras, and to the right is a painted record from a street artist named Nano that I've had forever. Framed by two of my favorite prints I've ever owned. These are the Illustrator and Photoshop prints from the French paper company. I got these when I was in college going to school for my degree in graphic design. Since these were the two programs I was using heavily, I just had to have them. Of course, there is my Do What You Love neon sign that I got from Amazon that adds a little bit of interest to the corner. The last thing mounted to my walls is my surf green Squier Stratocaster guitar. I'm still working on getting better at playing guitar, but at least it looks cool when I'm not using it. Below all of this is an old Ikea bookshelf unit. It was originally white, but I decided to paint it a gray color, turned it on its side, and now use it as a place to store all of my design books, miscellaneous camera equipment, extra cables, a tiny fridge for storing some film, and of course, my camera collection. I currently own 6 cameras, 3 Minolta film cameras, the SRT-101, X700, and Maxim 70. The Fujifilm cameras are the XE2, XE4, and my newly acquired XH2, which I'm actually using to film this video. I have an entire video about all my cameras and the gear I use to shoot with if you want to check that video out here. Behind the cameras is a really awesome Lego creation of the Great Wave print that my wife made me. Next to it is a recent pickup from Harbor and Freight. If you have a Harbor and Freight near you, go out today and pick one of these up. This is the US General Mini Toolbox. It comes in several colors, but I sort of like the vibrancy of the red. The top of the toolbox acts like a catch-all tray, and the drawers below hold various small camera accessories like filters, tripod plates, and of course all of my batteries. The final side of my office is where my storage closet is located. I'm still working on getting this entire space organized, but it essentially holds my tripods and larger camera gear like paper and light stands. To the left of the closet are my EDC bags. These are both backpacks from Brevet, and they are hanging on some wall hooks I printed using my 3D printer. On the other side of the closet is the most expensive thing in my entire office. Yes, this is my bachelor's degree in graphic design. My mom was really proud of me, so she put it in a really nice frame, and I have it hanging in my office as a reminder of all the money I've spent for a piece of paper that confirms I'm an artist. That about wraps up the entire tour of my office. If there's anything I missed, or if you have any questions at all, please leave them in the comments down below. I really do my best to reply to everyone. If you like this video or you like The Office, let me know by leaving a like on the video. And if you haven't already, please subscribe so that you don't miss out on the next one. It would also be really cool to hit 10K subs this year, so help me out. Thank you so much for being here, you beautiful human. I will see you in the next one. Bye.